Welcome to the Wander Mode podcast, where we celebrate the fearless spirit of women embracing life's wanderings. Where every story is a spark of inspiration and reminds us that sometimes the most beautiful moments happen when we simply embrace wherever the journey may lead. Boy, do I have a fun episode for you to listen to today. I had the pleasure of chatting with Mercedes Eckert, and we talked about mystery shopping. Now, if you know me, you know that I am not a shopper by nature. I'm not a big product person. Going to malls or picking out clothes stresses me out like none other. So when I found the opportunity to talk with Mercedes about how to make supplemental income through mystery shopping, I didn't really know what to expect. But what she ended up sharing as a way to bring in extra income for your family really was so fascinating for me. And although I recorded this episode a few months ago, I have actually had the opportunity to jump into the mystery shopping space. And boy, let me tell you, has it introduced me to a totally different way of making a little bit of extra income on the side, or even just getting stuff that I would like to do in life for free. So take a listen to this episode. Even if you ultimately decide that mystery shopping is not going to be your thing, that's okay. It was still such a pleasure just as another woman to be sharing space with a gal that has so much passion for life. And she has just really allowed her wings to spread and be open to new opportunities that have really created this life that she loves. I am so excited for you to take a listen, so let's dive in. Well, good morning. I'm really excited to chat with you today because although I wouldn't necessarily consider myself like a big shopper on my own, I really love this idea of getting paid to shop. And so we're going to jump into your whole story and what it is that you do as an entrepreneur. But tell me a little bit about where you're at with your headspace today.
Hey there. Okay. Well, you know what? I'm in a good mood. I've been working out at the gym and I'm feeling good. It's got me feeling good, ready to work. I'm actually kind of bummed that I can't work a full day today. I've got to go out of town, but because there's so much to do. And so my head is like, I'm motivated, but I got some other things that I've got to do before I can get into the office and really lock in. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Mhm. I have to ask with the gym thing, is this a new part of your routine? I know for me, like getting back into exercise has been a relatively new thing since January for me. So, what brought that into your sphere?
Well, listen, my husband, when we got together, he was like this big what a gym rat and bodybuilder, and I mean, you know what I mean? And I never was into it, but as we get older, sometimes we start to gain weight. And working as a business owner, I'm in my seat all the time. I'm sitting down. And so I've really just gotten to that point where, okay, this is not healthy. I need to get my butt in the gym. So he has been helping me and we've been going together and I've been walking a lot more. And it's really good. It makes me feel good mentally. And then, of course, physically, I can't wait to see those results.
Yeah, I hear you on the sitting in the chair thing. So as a former teacher, I used to get so many steps in, just like built into my day, in my job. And when I became an entrepreneur, that was the first thing that I learned was, wow, this is a lot of chair time. This is
Yeah.
so much sitting. And I was talking with one gal on the podcast, and she was talking to me about those walking pads
Uh huh.
that you can get like underneath your desks and stuff. But the only problem is like I've gone shopping for them, but they have mixed reviews and I haven't been able to really commit to one. Have you ever thought of something like that?
I literally just was texting with another entrepreneur. She handles some of our marketing stuff, and she told me literally just like not even an hour ago. She goes, "I do not feel good. I'm getting ready to go lay down." She was like, "I think I did too much on my walking pad while working," and I was like, "Oh." I didn't never, I never even thought that people would hurt themselves. So there's, yeah, that's a mixed review. Like, So no, I have not thought about doing it because I'm like, I don't want to stand. I don't think I'd be able to do both, but I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, I think for me it depends on the task. I think I could respond to some emails or something, or maybe listen to a call or be on a Zoom or something where I'm not an active participant,
Mhm.
just learning. But I agree with you. Like I need to sit and be still, like my brain trying to focus on me not hurting myself on a walking pad.
For sure. That would not be
Yeah.
good.
So before we jump in to all things shopping, tell me a little bit about your background pre iShop
Yeah.
because I'm just so curious how you ended up landing yourself in this space. Have you always been an entrepreneur? Did you do something completely different and you just needed a pivot?
Yes, entrepreneur from the day I was born. I mean, there's so many stories of me as a little kid and a teenager starting businesses or little side hustles. I just had that mindset of I can turn this into a business. So actually, prior to the mystery shopping, I had another business. I was working it really hard, but I was not getting anywhere. And my husband, eventually, after like 4 years, he's like, "You need to stop." He's like, "This is not getting you anywhere, and you're putting all this time and energy and effort into it, and you're not making any money." Like, so it's time to pivot. So yeah, I did have another business, which now it sucks that it, but I didn't know what I didn't know. And not having any type of mentor and not having money for back then, business coaches and stuff in this whole online space, it didn't really exist. So everything I was doing was just from here. And so some of those things didn't work, some of them did. And you know what? It was a learning experience. So now I can tell others, you know what I mean? Hey, I've
Yeah.
been there. And sometimes
Yeah.
make that pivot. So that's what I did. It was a babysitting service, actually. So I started that in college where I was actually hiring babysitters and then putting them with the families.
Okay, so I have to ask because I'm very much in my first year and a few months, a handful of months of my
Uh-huh.
business, and very much in that space of, yep, the not the not making money,
Yeah.
putting a lot of time in,
Yeah.
learning all the things. Did you ever feel like it would have been obvious to you that you needed to let it go? Or are you the type of person where it's like, no matter what, like, I'm just going to stay committed to this because I just want to see things through and make it work? And you needed that outside influence to help you see, okay, it's time to put this idea to rest and pick a new thing.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think for me, it took my husband really saying that to me. And then I think it helped that I had already started mystery shopping. And so he was saying, you need to pivot from the babysitting service and you need to teach the mystery shopping. And so I had something to fall back on. So had I not had something else, I probably would have stuck with it, unfortunately, because I was not making the money was not enough to cover the hours I was putting into it. So I think just you got to have like a real conversation with yourself, your loved ones, look at the numbers, you know what I mean? And really have that conversation, like, is it time to say no? Like stop this? Is it time to maybe even just try one more tweak in the business to see if this works? But I mean, if you're going at something for years and years and you're not getting customers, I mean, if you were a retail store or a business where you had a brick and mortar, you would not be able to survive even that long. So I think you have to really say, is this worth my time and energy?
It makes so much sense, and I think when you have that entrepreneurial spirit in you, it is so easy to get caught up in, like, "I just need to work a little harder," or, "I just need to do this one last thing," or that sort of thing, because it is hard to let these ideas go, especially since you had that idea so early on.
Yeah.
This idea that was very close to your heart, like, so many emotions tied to it that it would have been hard to have actually accepted, like, "You're right, this isn't it's not gonna go anywhere. This isn't gonna do anything for
Yeah.
me."
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's your baby. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so kind of giving that up is hard. But you know what? I think over time I lost the passion for it. So that kind of helped too when you're not
Mhm.
as passionate about it, which you could, it's burnout. You know what I mean?
Because you're doing all aspects of your business, especially early on when you can't afford
Right.
to pay anybody else to do the marketing, you can't afford to pay somebody else to build your website, so you're doing all this stuff and learning on top of it.
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
hard.
For sure.
So you had this mystery shopping in addition to it for a while. How did you get connected to that idea?
It was kind of crazy, but me and my husband were dating and we went on like a double date with his best friend and another young lady. And she worked for one of the mystery shopping companies. And she was like, "Oh my gosh, would you be interested in getting paid to go to this gas station?" And she explained it to me. And I was like, "Oh, heck yeah, I'd be interested." Because we were in need of, well, we were dating then. I was in need of money, so I was like, "Yeah, sign me up." And that's how I got my foot in the door, by meeting her. I mean, and literally I only met her like that one time. And it's so crazy how one encounter can forever change your life.
That is so crazy. So when she pitched the idea, did it sound like it was gonna be a big time commitment, or this is like, "Hey, this is super easy to just build into your day-to-day life because you're going to be doing these things anyways?"
Yeah, it was, and she didn't even. So now looking back, now being the expert that I am, she didn't really even understand how big the industry was and how, like, all the things. She had no idea. She was just an employee, and she knew that she had to get somebody out to this gas station, and so that's all. That's what she said. "Hey, it'll be like just a few minutes of your time." So that's all. When I say my foot in the door, it was like my pinky toe. Okay. So that's all she gave me. I'm like, "Hold on. Is there more? Is it just at gas stations?" I mean, I start asking all these questions. She didn't have the answers. So I had to go find the answers myself. So yeah, it was barely my foot in the door encounter that led to that. And then the rest was kind of just lot of research.
Walk me through a little bit this first experience at this gas station, because at least for me, I would feel a little bit like I'm doing this undercover thing, like, I don't know, like, almost being awkward about it. How did that feel when you went there for the very first time and you knew that you were mystery shopping them?
Yeah, so the mystery shop part wasn't hard, or for me, not that. It was pretty low key. What made me feel uncomfortable was that I had to, it was a tobacco compliance audit is what they call it. So I was going in undercover to buy tobacco to see if they would card me. So the whole point of the shop was to see if they would card me. And it was uncomfortable for me to buy tobacco. But I was like, "Hey, I'm making money for this. I'm gonna do it." I didn't even know. I think I had to like research, like, what do I ask for? No,
Oh, yeah.
no, like, I don't know. So that was really the uncomfortable part for me. But other than that, super easy, super addicting. So I got addicted really quick. Not to the tobacco.
Not
Yeah, to the mystery shopping for sure.
Okay. So then you got hired as a mystery shopper, but to do something for more of like a legality check. Like, that's kind of interesting. It wasn't specific to a product.
Yeah, so that's a common misconception. People think mystery shopping is product testing. That's different. Mystery shopping is where you're paid to evaluate certain aspects of the business from a customer's point of view. So usually it's your customer experience as a whole. What were the employees doing behind the cash register? Were they eating or were they helping people? Were the restrooms clean? Were the windows clean? Was there the correct signage? So you're going in undercover pretending to be a regular customer, but you're actually observing. And then you're giving your feedback on how your experience went at that place of business.
Interesting. Were you carded? Did they follow
I
through on what they
believe that first one, yeah. Most I've done so many of those since, and most of them, yeah, they're carding.
Yeah. And then last question about this first experience, but how much did you get paid to do that for your very first time as a mystery
I
shopper?
believe it was like $20 and it took me
Okay.
like 5 minutes. I mean, it was,
Yeah.
and so coming from not making a lot of money, I was just like, "Oh my gosh, it would have taken me
Yeah.
2 hours at my day job, and I just made this in 5 minutes. Okay, sign me up for more." So
Right. That was just the tip of the iceberg. Did you then contact the company that she worked for, Or did you go into outside sources for more information on learning how you could expand this?
Well, I went to the internet and I ran into a lot of scams, and it was a lot. I would say it took me years to really get a full understanding of the industry and the experience, because I remember calling her and I'd be like, "Hey, how do I get more shops?" And she was like, "I don't know." And so she had no idea, which is crazy because you would think that the company hiring her would have given their employees like an overview of the industry and how vast it is, but I guess they didn't. So yeah, I went to work, lots of late nights, kind of into an obsession. Okay.
Your husband's like, "All right, I regret telling you to leave the babysitting service."
No, because when we started getting paid to get steak dinners, he was all in. He's like, "Oh
Okay.
yeah, you want to get some steak tonight?" I'm like, "Yeah, let's do it."
Yeah.
So you win them over with those types of shops for sure.
So I'm curious, it's so tempting to want a little extra income here, a little extra income there, and you see all these ideas
Oh,
splashed all over social media, the internet. They seem legit.
mhm.
It seems like there's something of value there and that you're actually going to get paid for what it is that you're doing. Have you found that there are common things that have allowed you to identify this is definitely a scam versus this is legit?
Yeah, so I think you know what, you know in your gut if something doesn't sound right. I mean, nowadays there's scams on Facebook Marketplace. You can tell like something, this is not how a normal conversation or a normal meetup would go. You have this gut feeling. And if it doesn't make sense, it's probably a scam. There's so many scams out there. But 11 and a half years ago, there were side hustles, but not as many as we have today. I mean, in the last 10 years, the gig economy has exploded. And I think it's an amazing time to live because we do have choices. But you do have to be careful for scams in any industry. And like I said, I
Mhm.
think there's telltale signs of that.
I agree with you with the gut thing and also just paying attention to some of the language that's being used. And I always find that it seems really scammy when people are really generic with their wording, like especially on Facebook Marketplace where they're not specifically calling out the product that you have listed or something like that. Like they're not asking questions about it or they're not saying like how they're going to use it. It's more just, "Oh, I'd like to purchase your item," or "I'd like to buy whatever you have on your listing." It feels like someone hasn't actually looked at what it is that you're doing. They're just it's a fish.
Yeah, and then they're like, "Can I pay this? Can we do Venmo? And I'll pick it up next week. My aunt's uncle's cut." It's just like some weird stuff, and you're like, "No, I'll pass. I'm not selling
Yeah.
this to you."
Right. Hard pass. All right. So you kind of do all this research, you get past the scammy aspect, you start getting connected with some of these mystery shopping companies. So tell me a little bit about some of the first companies that you got connected to, because I'm guessing that happened in advance of you starting iShop and teaching other people how to do this.
Yeah, so I worked with multiple companies and just started doing the mystery shops for them around my area. I was in a small town called Shepherdsville, Kentucky, and there was nothing there. So I had to drive to like the bigger towns, to Louisville. And when I realized how
Mhm.
lucrative it was, there's no place I wouldn't go. I was driving to Lexington, to Indianapolis, to Cincinnati. I did not care if the money was right, because coming from not making enough money at your day job to making hundreds of dollars in a day, it's a complete game changer.
And do you get paid for your gas or the products that you're purchasing in order to do, like the tobacco, for example? Do you get refunded for those expenses or does that just come out of what you made from the gig?
Yeah. So as a mystery shopper, you're not always required to purchase something. So that is one thing I want to say, because a lot of people think, well, how are you making money? You're just getting free stuff. So both. You get paid and you can get reimbursed. And not every shop requires a purchase. So the ones that do require purchase, like that first one I did where I had to buy tobacco, they reimbursed me. And it was like $1 or something for a black and mild is what I bought, and it was cheap, but they reimbursed me and then I got paid. Today, some of my favorite mystery shops are like apartment mystery shops. So I go in
Mhm.
and all I have to do is like say, "Hey, I'm interested in a new place to live. Do y'all have anything available?" And then let them take me on a tour. I don't have to buy anything. And so that is just pure profit, no purchase involved. Yeah.
So, like an example with an apartment, is there a lot of follow up because you've gone and done this tour, you're interested in this place that you live? How do you deal with if they were to ask for personal information to follow up or send you a brochure or
Mhm.
whatever information they want to send you?
Yeah, so specifically for an apartment mystery shop, you usually wait a few days, and that's a part of the shop. They want to see, do they follow up with you? And then you'll
Ah.
have to let them know that they did follow up with you. So usually I wait for the follow up, and then I'm done.
Okay, that's nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's fun.
Yeah, this whole thing is so intriguing to me because I'm not like I said at the beginning, I'm not a shopper myself. It stresses me out. But as you're saying, it's not always about that. It's not about having to go into a store and try on a shirt or a pair of jeans or get tobacco or whatever. There's a lot of different aspects of companies that are clearly paying money for feedback or information in exchange for your time.
Exactly. So that's one thing that I do hear, people who don't like to shop. They're like, "Oh, well, I wouldn't like mystery shopping because I don't like shopping." And so then I break it down. It's not shopping like you think. And we get paid. So as mystery shoppers, thousands of businesses across the globe are using this because it's a tool. It's a form of market research. So these businesses are using it to gauge what's going on in their business locations. Because let's be honest, the owners of these companies, the presidents, the CEOs, even the managers, they can't be there 24/7. So what's happening when they're not around, and how are
Mhm.
customers being treated? So when they know this, they're able, and you know this from just from being an entrepreneur, they can improve their business. They probably are leaving money on the table if their cashiers aren't upselling at the register, or you know what I mean? So this is a game changer for them to be able to improve their business. But yes, it's not necessarily like shopping at a store. It's more like, okay, you have to get gas, right? To put in your car to go anywhere. So as a mystery shopper, you can go to the gas station, do a mystery shop there. It doesn't have to include tobacco. Every shop is different and has different things you look for. So there have been shops where I can go and pump gas and get reimbursed for that. So you're getting free gas. Restaurant shops. So you can go to a restaurant, and we do this all the time. We have two kids and my husband, and we'll go to dinner. I am just observing like the host, the server, the cleanliness of the restaurant, and we're reimbursed for our meal. What else? So gas stations, movie theaters, you're going to the movies, and they want you to observe when you get in, and the ticket taker and the concession stand. You know what I mean? So these are
Mhm.
things that everybody is doing, no matter if you like to shop or not. I'll give you one more example: getting your oil changed in your car. Oh my gosh, there's tons. Like, why ever pay for an oil change again? You can just go and do a mystery shop. So it's a game changer. That's what makes it unique when it comes to side hustles out there, because you're not going to find another side hustles that is paying you and giving you free services and
Yeah.
goods.
Correct, yes. You have your profit, but you're still having to spend on those normal things in life,
Right.
like gas and restaurants
Exactly.
and that sort of thing. And to be honest, like, as I'm listening to you describe the restaurant example, you're doing those things anyways, like, naturally as a consumer. I mean, you may not be as intentional about paying attention to the details just coming into a random restaurant and eating there, but I would know if I would return to that restaurant or not if because I've paid attention to the cleanliness or how polite somebody was.
Exactly. That you hit the nail on the head. That's what I tell people. Like, you're doing this anyway.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
why not get paid for it?
And then what are the logistics behind it? So you go and do your mystery shopping role, whatever that role is. Then is there a platform or something that you're having to submit afterwards? Is it all just done through email?
It's done online. So, and it's different with every company, but you submit it online to the company, and then you just wait for your paycheck.
It just and this is why things sometimes sound scammy, right? Is like, "Really? Like, it's that easy."
Yeah.
But it literally is that easy.
Yeah, I know. It's so yes, it because people are like, "Well, it sounds too good to be true. What's the kicker?" And I'm like, "Well, you do have to work. I mean, you do have to
Yes.
be what you said, intentional." So, as a consumer, we do notice these things, but they're in the back of our mind. Now, unless we had like really bad service or something memorable, really good service, we might tell somebody, "Oh my gosh, I had the best person." But other outside of that, we're not really relaying this information. So as a mystery shopper, you are relaying this information and you're being intentional in what you're looking for when you're on the shop. But I tell people, as long as you can follow instructions and be observant, you can do this. It's not hard. Okay. That's, I would say, the only catch is that it is work. I mean, you do have to be intentional with your observations, but beyond that, it's easy.
And I appreciate that you're saying that it is still work, because even though, yes, it's built into things that you would already be doing, it is a different
Mhm.
mindset that you're going into doing these things with. But also, I would imagine there are people who have gotten into this that are perhaps not as motivated, that don't come across as many jobs. And so then they may not make as much money as somebody else who is maybe a little more driven in the mystery shopping space, who really seeks a lot of things out. Is that true? Or is it, do the jobs kind of come to you, or do you also have to kind of put in the work and the time behind the scenes to really get connected with the job?
I would say a little bit of both. So, for the person that comes in and they're not motivated, well, if you're not a motivated person, it doesn't matter what side hustle you're doing. You're not going to succeed because you're not a self motivated person. You know what I mean? Or you don't follow through. And I think that's
Mhm.
across the board with anything you do, unless you find something that you personally, it just ignites your soul and you have passion. Okay. So, those are those people. But the average person, even if you're not a super self-motivated person, it's not like it's work to find the shops. You get emails, they're calling you, they're texting you, "Hey, there's a shop down the street. Can you complete this for us?" So it's not so heavily involved that there's a big difference between people that are motivated and not. The jobs are easy to get. So mystery shopping is available. It's really available all over the world. Right now, we recruit shoppers in the US and Canada. So there are shops in all 50 states and there are shops in Canada. So I tell people this: if you live in a small town, you will have to drive. You know that you live far away from all the stuff. So you'll have to drive to the businesses, right? If you live in a big city or closer to that, you won't have to drive as far. So I think that right there is common sense. But there's shops in every state. And the cool thing about it is you can do a shop in another state. So if you live somewhere and you're vacationing somewhere else, you can do a shop there. So a lot of times when we go to Florida, I'll pick up shops near our hotel for dinner, movies, different attractions, theme parks, or whatever, bowling alley. So we're going on vacation, but we're actually barely spending anything. You
Yeah.
can do this wherever. I have a girlfriend, she shops across the world. So she's gotten paid to go on safaris in South Africa. She's gotten paid to go to Dubai, the UK. She's single and living the great life. And so I'm like, girl, how are you just getting up and like saying like, oh, I'm going to Dubai next week? I mean, literally, she'll message me and she's like, hey, they're paying me to go. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you're so good at this. So it's so much fun and it can be done from just about anywhere.
So cool. And I know that that's the space that you're now in, where you're teaching other women how to do this, because you, I mean, I can feel it like radiating out of you, like the excitement around this type of job. Like it does. It sounds so intriguing and exciting, and like, who doesn't want free stuff or free trips? So I know you're teaching women how to do this now. How did you transition from I am a mystery shopper to I'm going to now teach others how to do this, and you've built that side of your business? Because I would imagine, even with your friend, I mean, like, these are all amazing stories that would make anybody want to do it.
Right? Yeah, for sure. Well, so like I said, my husband was a big factor and my mom, but they were the two people that really, I don't think if they had been around to say anything, I don't know if I would have done what I did. But right around the time I started mystery shopping, the industry was in desperate need of shoppers. I mean, they still are and they always will be. And so they were saying, "Hey, Mercedes, is there anybody that you know that could help? We need more help." And so I would like make a post here or there on my Facebook page, and people would message me and say, "Hey, girl, what do you need help with? I need extra money." And so it got to the point where people were truly interested and like bombarding me. And one thing led to another. And in 2015, I started what is known as an MSO. So we are a mystery shopping organization, which I had no idea that there were other MSOs out there. But then again, it just shows you that the industry doesn't do the best job. This is why nobody knows about mystery shopping. You know, it was very just kind of hush hush. But I started an MSO without knowing that there were other MSOs that existed. And really, just one thing led to another. God really blessed the business and what we were doing. So we've been in business for 9 years now. We've taught over 15,000 people how to get in the door, how to do this, and that they don't have to do what I did and spend years figuring all this out and trial and error. But we've got it all right there for them. We'll teach you how to do it. We'll help you hit your income goals, whether it's $500 a month or whether you want to do this full time and make thousands of dollars a month. We've already have the plan laid out for people. And so it's been quite a journey. We actually earlier this year we just bought out one of those MSOs. And so now we are the fastest growing organization in the world, mystery shopping organization
Woo,
out there. Yeah, I know. It's very exciting. And so
man.
we're not slowing this train down. We're on a mission to recruit and train shoppers, and then we partner with the companies so that they know the shoppers they're getting are trained, right, instead of just figuring it out on their own and not doing good work because they don't understand. So we send them trained shoppers. We're knocking at both doors of the shopper and the companies, and it's been so much fun. I love what I do. And so that switching from mystery shopper to owner of a mystery shopping organization where we're teaching thousands of people every year, it's been very easy and natural, I would say. It was just a
Mhm.
natural progression, totally different from the babysitting service. I didn't have to force anything or push it because mystery shopping is very, I mean, when somebody hears it, their ears already perk up. So that helps. And being able to show people, hey, this is what I've done. I'm a real person. I'm not here to scam you. I've been on social media for years and years, and you can see pictures of my checks and things like that. And knowing that this isn't something like direct sales or MLM, which I love. I've got a lot of friends that are very successful in that. But I know the average person isn't a marketer, isn't a salesman. And so with mystery shopping, you aren't depending on someone else to make money, right? Because you could put in 50 hours a week and make you don't know what if they only buy $50 worth of product and you only get a 30% commission. You're putting in and not knowing. So with mystery shopping, the only way you don't get paid is if you don't go to do the shop. You know what I mean? So it's easy money and
Yeah.
something everybody can do. At least try. That was a
Mhm.
lot.
No, oh my goodness. No, I love it because again, I think you totally hit on something that I really appreciate, which is that you don't have to force this on anybody,
Yeah.
right? Like your story alone, your friend's story alone, that's enough even just as I'm sitting here like I need to talk with you after the show. Because I think your point is you're a real person.
Mhm.
You've made this work for you. It brings free things in, which, especially with the economy the way that it is right now,
It's crazy.
yes, budgets are tight. People don't want to go spend on yet another thing and whatever. And as you said, the only way you're not going to get paid is by not showing up. And so then it takes the mystery work out of it. Sometimes I feel like there's a lot of pressure, 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 pressure. And so I just think that that's so cool. And congrats, by the way, on buying out
Well,
the
thank
other
you.
the other organization. That is so
Thank
cool.
you.
Would you say that with so the 15,000 people that you've trained, would you say that everybody can learn this, or would you say if you particularly have these types of skills, that is also helpful?
I tell everyone, so the qualifications to be a mystery shopper, period, you need to be at least 18 years or older. You need to have transportation, internet access, good writing and grammar skills, and be able to follow instructions. Okay. Now, I probably should throw in a sixth one. So, this is what I discovered as I was teaching people. Sometimes we were getting people that literally had no sense of how to work a computer. I mean, even getting onto their email was tough. And typically, this was the older generation, God bless their heart. And so I have since then started telling people, hey, if you are not computer savvy, or if you had to have your grandchild help you set up a Facebook, this probably isn't the thing for you, at least right now. I tell people go to your local library and take like a computer one-on-one free course and get those skills. So definitely
Mhm.
those skills. I also would say people that this isn't a good fit are people that make excuses and maybe very emotional. I've noticed that I'll get some very emotional people and they'll message me and they'll say, "Oh my gosh, Mercedes, I'm so excited about this opportunity and I want to be the best." And being a business owner, a lot of it is psychology. You learn a lot about people and what personalities fit with what, you know what I mean? So I have noticed
Mhm.
the highly emotional people typically tend to not stick around because mystery shopping is not emotional. You're going in, what is happening in your experience objectively, not how
Mhm.
you felt, not they made you feel like this or you think they looked at you in a weird way. It's no, I went in on Friday afternoon, I was greeted, the person did not smile or they smiled. It's very factual. So I think sometimes with more emotional driven people, it might not be their thing. So those are the trends I've seen. But other than that, anybody can do this. Now, whether they stick with it, that's up to them. You know what I mean? Because I think as humans, we have a lot of choices out there. And there's some people just have that bug of, I've got to find the next best thing. So it doesn't matter what they start, they'll do it until eternity. Like I'm going to try this year and this next year, kind of all over the place. But other than that, I mean, there are shoppers that do this occasionally. Maybe they do one shop a week. It fits into your schedule. So every person is not doing this like boom, boom, boom every single day. I think people fit it into what works best with their lifestyle.
Which is so nice. I feel like especially post-COVID, people are seeking a lot more of that flexibility
Yeah.
within their schedule. I think it gave everybody a little bit of a taste of that work from home, and now
Yeah.
it's ruined everybody forever on wanting to go do the traditional 9 to 5 9 to 5 job.
Oh, for sure.
So, 2 things kind of with the time thing. So, it sounds like it would really fit into anybody's schedule based on what their income goals are. Obviously, if they're wanting to do this full time, that's a very different level of a time commitment, correct?
Right, right. So here's the thing. There's no set, like, if you do this full time, it's 40 hours, it's 60 hours. I'll give an example. My mom, she's doing mystery shopping. Obviously, I got her involved and she doesn't mystery shop every day, but it is her full-time job. She doesn't mystery shop every week. She'll pick up a route where they'll say, "Okay, we're going to give you X amount of shops if you can complete this." She'll complete it in 10 days and make like 3 grand. And then she'll take a break for a week. So do you see what I'm saying? Like full time, it's a different level of commitment, but it doesn't always mean like 40 hours every single week. And the same thing with doing it on the side. So the majority of people I said mentioned they do this on top of their 9 to 5, and they're bringing home anywhere from $200 to $500. I'll give you an example. There are some weeks, even for me, because I'm running the business, so I do have this job, but I still mystery shop. But I can go and out of the office for one day and go and make $500 in one day. And we consider that's part-time money, even though it's not part-time hours, if that makes sense. So
Yes.
it's very interesting how it works because you're not paid by the hour, you're paid by the job, and the job pays depending on what it is, it could pay differently. It could have a bonus on it. So,
Mhm.
as you can see, it's very flexible and there's no set times, and sometimes somebody could make 500 in a day in 3 hours, and then somebody else could make 500 in a week doing 15. It just depends on how many shops and what they're paying.
It's almost like the income counts as part-time income and the income for full-time counts for full-time income, but it isn't necessarily correlated to, well, this is 40 hours or this is 20 hours.
Right.
To your point, it's really what you're picking up that then can get you to that amount of money.
You're catching on very quickly.
Thank you. I like to consider myself a quick learner, but I'm like, this is so fascinating. As a mom and as a wife and a mystery shopper, and you're running this business, how do you personally manage all of your time and take care of yourself and make sure that you're doing what you need to do for you so that you have a full cup?
Yeah. Okay. Let's backtrack because my kids are now one has been dropped off to college a month ago. And the
Oh,
other one, she's 16. She's got a job. She goes to school. We don't see her either. So we're like empty nesters. So let's go back to when the kids were little. I was in college full time, working full time, being a mom and a wife, and running this business. We're just going to go back. Okay. That was a freaking lot.
yeah,
So,
to say the
yeah.
least.
And you know what? I'm gonna be honest because I know you like the real and honest truth. it
Yep.
was messy. And there were times where my husband's like, you don't have time for anything. Like you're spread so thin you can't even think straight. You know what I mean? And there were those times that I would say, just I just have to do this, or well, I promise, well, I won't, it won't be like this forever. And God bless him because he's had to have a lot of patience and understanding. And I think when you are married to an entrepreneur, they are passionate about their business. And it doesn't mean they're not passionate about you or the kids. It's just this is their baby. Okay. And so to have an understanding spouse like that is a big deal. And there were definitely some rocky moments. And now my kids, they're my step kids. So they're not my biological, but we have full custody. So I was
Mhm.
full-time mom. So I was navigating being a mom who didn't birth two children and come into their lives. And I'm instantly like taking charge of all the two little girls of what they need. And so it in itself was an experience. And I think I'm like, okay, now that the kids are grown, we feel like empty nesters. I can look back and see, okay, this is what I did right. This is what I did wrong. If we ever have kids in the future, I'm gonna kill it this time. I want to be a little better because I've learned. So I think it's a balancing act, and don't feel bad if you're not doing the best because we're just out here trying to keep our head above water. And so you asked about self-care. In the beginning, I couldn't afford self-care. There was no self-care. Self-care, what is that? But as my income grew, one of the beauties again of mystery shopping is I've gotten paid to go get a full body massage. So
That sounds glorious.
yeah, like so
Mhm.
before I even had that income to be like, hey, I'm gonna spend $100 on a 60-minute massage, it was what shops can I do to help me get that self-care so that I can afford it. So that was minimal then, but even when it did happen, it was usually a mystery shop. So you do have to, it is important to get that in. But I understand if you're a beginning entrepreneur and it's just almost impossible. And so just even don't cook dinner night, have your spouse do it. Go take a drive down a neighborhood with beautiful houses and just take a drive. You get your little fast food if you have to go to the dollar menu, because I remember going to the dollar menu, okay, at McDonald's and Wendy's,
Yeah.
whatever you have to do to just get out of the house and get away that for that self-care. And then carve out time for your spouse, carve out time for your children, even if it's 30 minutes, an hour. Just being intentional is better than the quantity. So quality over quantity is what I'm trying to say.
Oh, I so appreciate you going back because I think there's seasons that we have in our lives, right? So even just being at that empty nest season changes the game in terms of what you're able to contribute to your business, what you're able to focus on for yourself and your spouse compared to when kids are just much younger and they're just needier, period. Like they just have more that they need from you. And I think sometimes too, we can get caught in when we are in those seasons of like, oh man, it's going to be this way forever. And it isn't.
Right.
It isn't.
Right. Yeah. It's my life looks completely different than it did 10 years ago. And
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm happy about it. Ooh, it's nice.
And yeah, and holy moly, like taking on a mothering role of two kids that you didn't birth either, like that on top of everything else, that is a lot.
Yeah, it was. I'm finally feeling a weight lifted off my shoulders, and and my husband's like, "Oh my gosh, you're so calm now." He's like, "You're just like I can tell like a lot." And I'm like, "Yeah, it's been a long road, and I've learned a lot that I want to take with me into whatever is in store in this next chapter because it's not going to forever look like this. Like right now, it's quiet. I'm doing the business and spending a lot of time with my husband and going to the gym. It's not always going to look like this. I don't know what the next chapter, but those things that I learned then, I want to be able to take them into this next season, do a really good job of whatever the task is at hand, which I guess is having young adults, which is
Yeah,
that's a whole nother thing.
it is. It is. I was gonna say, like, that's a task in of itself because I taught middle school. So I was with 12 and 13-year-olds, and you're just beyond that. But there is a whole realm of raising young adults. It's not that day-to-day care of like the diapering, the feeding, the whatever, but it's very much like helping them navigate those adult-like decisions that they're now faced with, which is
It's
major.
yeah, it's major because these are decisions that if they don't make the right decision, it could domino their entire life. And
Yeah.
so it's like providing that wisdom, providing the guidance, trying to not be a helicopter, trying to not do it for them. There's a lot of parents
Mhm.
that they'll just do this. I'm just going to do it for you. Then they'll never learn. So it's a balancing act for sure.
Wow. And maybe we'll end with this question. Where do you see yourself going in the next 10 years?
You know what? In my heart, I want to give back. I want to give to not only my family, but my community and the world at large. And I don't know exactly how that will look, but I know I've been able to empower people in this mystery shopping space, but I want to empower people in their life period and how they approach life and how they approach their situation. I want to be able to do that and see more success stories, not just with mystery shopping, but in life in general. And so I'm hoping that this next season brings just an abundance of opportunity to give, like Mr. Beast who okay, that's what I in my
Mhm.
heart want. So I'm just like, okay, God, if we can make this happen, I would love to be that person for you, and just being
Mhm.
able to pour love and actual monetary help for people. That's really my goal in this next season.
I love that. So, where can people find you if they have listened to this episode and they're like, this is what I need, this is what I've been looking for? Where can they find you?
They can go to our website, www.ishopagp.com, and you can go from there. There's a free webinar that will kind of get you down the rabbit hole of becoming a mystery shopper. You can watch that. It's only 35 minutes, but yeah, I'd love to connect with you and get you a part of our team and get you making money from shopping. It'd be so much fun.
Awesome. Thanks so much for being on the show today.
You are so welcome. Thanks for having me. This was really fun and enjoyable.
Thanks for wandering with me today. If you were inspired by this episode and think it would ignite a spark in a friend, don't hesitate to share. And if you're craving more from the Wander Mode community, hop on over to Instagram at Wander Mode Co. Meet you in the next episode, and until then, wander on.